Welcome to Tea Time with Talent Acquisition, the podcast aimed at fostering knowledge and sharing stories within the vibrant talent acquisition community. I'm your host, Eden, and for the next hour or so, I'm going to be joined by an individual with over 15 years of experience in talent acquisition. Most recently, serving as a global talent advisor focused on AI-driven workforce planning and hiring strategies. His work played a key role in expanding AMD's presence, growing market share from 3% to 12% in just 3 years. Leveraging data and analytics, he supported enterprise teams from Google Cloud and AWS, bringing perspective to complex global hiring challenges. Now, drawing on his experience with that AI-driven planning from AMD, he wants to showcase how AI and strategic thinking can transform talent acquisition and how both candidates, so the job seekers who are listening, and the companies, so all of the talent acquisition professionals that are listening, can go beyond simply just using basic tools or ChatGPT prompting to gain a truly competitive edge. Honestly, one of the most fascinating conversations I think I'm going to be having here. It's something that I've been so much looking forward to. So absolutely no pressure, shall we say. So when you're ready, grab your favorite tea or coffee if you prefer, and please join me in welcome today's guest, Senior Global Talent Advisor, Harry Sarangam. So thank you so much for joining.
Hey, you doing? I do an amazing job, but all I'm trying to be is enjoy the work that I'm doing, a part of talent teams. But
No,
thanks for the great
I get it.
introduction, Eden.
I mean, I get that. And look, the reason I set it up in a sense of saying I'm super excited for this is that I think you're the sixth or seventh conversation I've had on the podcast now about AI, right? And you're the first person who's going to show something, not just hypothesize, not just talk about it, but actually show us something. And that's why I'm so excited because I feel, there's this element of fear that comes with how do we go and build these agents and what do we do with it. And everyone's looking at Copilot and ChatGPT and all these new tools, but your approach is kind of, not ignoring that, but also looking at other things. So that's why I feel like it's just bringing a different edge to the conversation today. But before we get into all of that, I want to start the conversation with you, how I started with everyone. So from your perspective, Harry, what do you feel makes a high performing recruitment team today?
Yeah, of course, it's more of technology and the human touch that makes TA a better place where we are, if you compare to the past years.
Mm,
And understanding how the technology is evolving and adapting to it is going to be the crucial. And as you rightly said, everyone says, yeah, AI is booming, AI is going there. AI is it's like, IT is an excellent domain to work for. So no, it is very important, where to focus, what to look at, and adore the technology. When Google came up at first, a lot of people think that Google is only for the professionals, and it took some time for everyone to understand that you could get everything, and people adapted to a very basic level. I think AI is going to be into the same arena, where like even at a household, not from a professional, not from a TA standpoint, even at a household things or your personal interest, you can adapt to technologies and then get wonderful results. And that is the major reason why I kind of created an agent, or at least tried to create an agent to showcase how easy it is. When I say easy, it might not be easy for everyone. Yeah, I also took some professional help in solving some debugs, but I still have some issues happening there. But yeah, that's where I wanted to focus.
So for you, the kind of high performing recruitment team is one that's bringing in that leverage and understanding of technology and not necessarily ignoring the massive elephant in the room that's getting billions of dollars of investment every year, AI obviously, but also bringing in that human touch that makes our role what it is. That kind of people centric approach and kind of clashing those together and bringing in a high performing structure behind the scenes.
You're
So
right.
think
Yeah.
from your knowledge, right? How would you describe the majority of recruiters, talent professionals, internal, external, RPO, embedded, there's all these fancy words for us all now, but talent professionals, how would you describe the majority of us are using AI right now in our function?
Yeah, I see most of them are predominantly using for prompting. Our internal
Mm,
systems are built as most of chatbots. Uh, you know, although they are important in addressing the issues from a company standpoint, maintaining the SLAs, all of those areas. But the bigger area that I would be focusing is more towards the strategic part. Because when we are drafting towards the strategy, there are often times, we miss out on a lot of areas, like, the question of why are we making an investment, or why are we
Mm.
making this hiring? How, to what percent is this aligned to companies' vision? I think, involving more of these AI skills at a strategic level would be amazing. But I see mostly at a support level is where we are using right now.
So the element of thinking more strategically, I guess there are going to be tools out there, right? There's going to be a variety of, I mean, again, not necessarily linked to strategic, but you've got the prompter, sorry, you've got note takers, you've got scheduling tools, you've got CV resume screening tools now, you've got obviously the ATS systems that are more becoming more advanced with AI. So these are like, support. Do you still find these are like AI tools that are supporting the talent acquisition function, whereas you're focusing on that? We can create agents and look at tools that are creating more strategy conversations for us. Is that where you feel the element of AI is really going to help the TA function better?
Exactly. I mean, I can give you a very good example in this. So, let's say, you apply for 200 jobs
Mm.
and you get 180 of them. In TA, 198 will be rejected because hardly 1% of applications move through the system. But what I'm talking is about when you receive a rejection email, it pretty much says a common standard template that we have a better candidate, we have that, and we are not even certain that someone really saw the resume, or are we fit to the position, or we not fit to the position. Assume now I'm using the human intelligence of AI agent in there, so which basically compares your resume, compares the job description, and when we select a candidate, compare your resume to the other candidate.
Mm.
And let's say, comparing all this data to an agent, and then agent will give you an output of, you have a good resume. It talks personalized, in the first couple of sentences, like, personalized message. Second thing is, what are the missing areas from your resume? If there are no missing areas, let's go to the third step and says, your resume comparing to the one who was selected in the system, and then say, the one who had selected had a better domain experience, or
Right.
else he is a quicker, he was one of the top and first few applications that we have received. So we kind of stopped considering other candidates after his profile. So, this kind of response will make the candidate more valued, and the time, respecting the time that the candidate is spent on the application. So
So
this is at to deliver. Whereas you mentioned we have 8 years, I think one of the Ashby is one of the top 8 years right now, in my opinion. Not because they're using AI at a very bigger scale or something like that, but they are one of the few companies started to use NLP at a reporting level from the 8 year system. Like, if someone comes up and type in, like, hey, I want to generate a report of DNI, in the past, compare from last year to this year, kind of stuff. Just NLP, you'll be able to see a lot of reporting structure there, and yeah, they're trying to do it a really good process in there. So, but they are not filling this information.
so an agent can help us do that essentially, and I know you haven't built out that type of agent. We'll talk about kind of the variety of things that we can think about, and I think that's how this conversation is probably going to mostly unfold, and kind of just to set the scene for anyone who's listening, going, okay, great, I'm going to be able to go and build that tomorrow. By all means, give it a go. But this conversation is more about hypothesizing, on a higher level, the areas that we could kind of build these agents into, and then to give people the reins to go and try it themselves, and to show that it's not really as daunting as it might seem when you look at all these videos online and all these workflows. But I guess from your perspective, what are the potential risks that we have as I'll break it into two, from a company perspective. if we don't adopt more advanced AI practices, because again, prompting and having these scheduling tools, I would say are the surface level, the basic side of things. So we don't kind of step into this next layer of AI. What's the impact it's going to have? The negative or risk impact it's going to have to us as a business.
I mean, using the advanced tools will make you will help you to make a smarter decision. So, are there companies which are not, using AI tools but still maintaining where they are? They are there. But adaptation to AI will make it more smarter, more competitive. It's just you could see it as technology, before 8 years and after 8 years, how
Yeah.
it revolutionized the process. And whenever the comparison comes up, like, again, in the example that I said, the feedback of the candidate, you take two companies, where they are sending the same template rejection email to a billion candidates and personalized response to another 500 candidates. You see the branding there, right? How it is. I think that difference of not adaptation to technology is going to be very visible in this current scenarios in current market.
But then how do you think the same situation was going to help influence yours and mine careers? Us as recruiters, us as TA professionals, especially over the kind of next, let's call it the short term, the next, 1 to 3 years, leaning more into what you're going to show us today. How is it going to help boost us and boost, our actual own career?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Eden. Like, if you see, I think uh, post COVID or mid of COVID somewhere, people were talking about, experience and management or leadership or two unrelated topics. There was a situation, in the market, they were talking like that. So, but actually, that is a partial true. But in the TA segment, what's going to happen is you need to have a clear understanding of various processes in the TA from an experience standpoint. And from the infrastructure standpoint, you need to understand, to innovate or to optimize on the process, you basically need to have an understanding of what agents you're using, what infrastructure you have. We cannot keep on going and then asking some other people for their inputs or for their understanding or their help in giving us an understanding of what the company is doing when you are at a leadership position. From an individual standpoint, this is going to help you to optimize the effort or making you a more of a smart recruiter. Uh,
Mhm.
and this would be a differentiator for you at a leadership level.
So from a leader perspective, being able to go into a team, and to be fair, I look at yourself, right? If I was to be looking at someone and going, I'm hiring a leader in my team, but this person's got the knowledge of the research, the understanding of building, what these would look like. You've done it practically for yourself. I'm looking at you going, okay, I could put you into something and you could probably start making adjustments, streamlining processes, streamlining workflows using things that other companies don't have access to. And that's the competitive edge that I'm looking at. Um, from an individual recruiter perspective, and just to be playing devil's advocate here, right? Why does it matter about doing everything quicker and more optimized from an individual perspective, right? I'm not the business owner. Okay, Peritus I am. I'm part business owner, but let's just put me into a team, right? I'm not the business owner. I'm doing my work. I enjoy my work, right? I love recruitment. I clearly, obviously, I'm good at it. I can find people. I can do all this stuff. And, since the last decade, it's never been a problem. But now everyone wants everything yesterday, even quicker. They want it 3 weeks ago. So why does it matter if I can find a candidate 30 minutes quicker or one day quicker?
Yeah, this is a very specific business use case, I'd say, because not all the positions need candidates as of today. Uh, you know, Again, we might need to map to that. I'd say, I'd also bring in resource forecasting to it. Because again, that resource forecasting would also be tied up to AI in my standpoint. So, it is. The needs are evolving, and we never know what kind of opportunities are going to open up.
Mm.
And you're seeing, right, the talent for AI, the people are competing like anything, from OpenAI to Microsoft, and Microsoft to some other company where they basically
Wild packages are
just
going out.
exactly, they're talking about acquihires, and
Mm.
which was not a very huge concept before, but again, once the big players come into the acquihire, a lot of people are talking about it. So it's all about the right opportunity for at the right time at the right place, and
Yeah.
you miss out on a lot of people. Competitors are there, and when you are talking about a consulting division, that is totally different, because that urgency is pushed by the client. But when you are
Yeah.
working for a product company or more service based companies, then it is more about the quality of hiring. It's about more competitiveness.
Mm.
That's why you also need to factor in something called as competitive intelligence, or competitive retention or competitive attrition. Like someone leaving the company, it's okay. If someone leaving and going to your competitor, that's not okay.
Yeah.
So, all these factors play a prominent role in deciding the timelines, or deciding what do you call the seniority or levels of experience, or where they are working, the mode of working, and all of this.
Yeah. The reason I say it, and I'm all for the AI revolution, right? I'm here. I'm flying the flag, as it were, and I'm saying thank you to ChatGPT every day just to make sure the uprising doesn't come and kill me. So I'm all for it. But I speak to TA professionals every day, and I get the sense that people are just tired now, right? And our age group, right? Us millennials, shall we say? We've gone through every iteration of technological advancement that ever could be, from AOL, well, not ever could be, but from the modern tech world of AOL dial-up, and getting kicked off the internet when someone calls, through to AI, right? And there's a lot of, and I get this so much, is that there's people just tired of having a conversation, not knowing what to do with it, thinking the world's going to take over our jobs, having to learn something new that's completely out of the scope of just going to find people and doing your job as a recruiter. And that's where the devil's advocate part comes in. 'Cause it's like,
Yeah.
I'm all for it, you're all for it, and there's absolutely a group of people here all for it. But there's also a group of people who just want the good old days. And not to say that the good old days were bad, they weren't, because they still built phenomenal companies. Every billion-dollar company we know right now was built not with AI recruitment, pretty much, right? So there's always this level of, no, that's why I kind of having this conversation with you, just curious to kind of see your perspective of it. And if anyone is in that camp of going, I'm tired of it, I think also just kind of allows them to know that they're not alone. There are other people like that. But yeah, I think, like I said, I'm on your side in the sense of, from a career standpoint, I can see how it's going to impact leaders, absolutely, having this knowledge. And then from an IC, if you really absorb it and take into this and lean into it, how it can dramatically speed up, what your role is. Um, let's talk about actual practicalities then. So we've got candidate job seekers and we've got companies, right? And give me a snapshot, right? So let's start with, you tell me, what do you want to start with, candidates or companies?
Well, let's deal with candidates, because
All
when
right.
when we are having this personal tea time, it's all about us, right? Not about the company.
All right, cool. Let's talk about candidates then. So anyone who's actively looking for a job or interested in looking for a job, I think that this is the part that can be interesting then. So because we can take AI agents from the company, we can deploy them to that. We'll talk about some of those elements in a moment, but let's talk about how you can do it for your job search yourself. So give me a snapshot then. I'm Eden, I'm the job seeker, or Harry, the job seeker. How can I actually use an agent, not a co-pilot, not ChatGPT, but how can I go and build out an agent? What type of things can I build out for me as a job seeker?
Okay, let's make it more interesting. Like at this point, what are the channels of job search that general candidates are using or approaching right now? What do you think of the?
Okay. So LinkedIn, I think everyone their nan's on LinkedIn now. Depends if you have certain preferences. So if you've got niche job boards, there's a lot of ones for towards fintech or green tech, whatever. Startup companies, you've got Wellfound. If you want to go like real seed businesses or Y Combinator, obviously they post their jobs quite a lot. So I think the vast majority of people that at least I speak with are either on job boards or actively into like referrals, or like people tagging them in posts and things like that. I think recruiters, obviously we do help, but I also acknowledge that our scope is limited, and I would never say ever just work with a recruiter, in my opinion, anymore, like an external recruiter. 5 years ago, it would have worked. There's an abundance of jobs, but right now, and again, full transparency, right? I work with a select few businesses because there's only one of me. Um, and that's, they're the business that are hiring right now. Loads of companies are hiring outside of recruiters who do not just rest on a recruiter, external recruiter, even if you love us.
Got it. Fantastic. So now, let me show you. I'll start with an easy example. If you have Google, just go to the Google plugins and then search for lazy apply.
Lazy
So
apply.
it's a plugin. What
Google
it does
plugin.
is you upload your resume, it maps your resume, and then it asks for certain information, what you're looking at, typical job search, and it
Yeah.
populates probably, 20 or 30 or 40 job postings, and you can click all of them and apply at once.
Oh, wow.
So that's a plugin which is ready-made, which is easy to do it.
And there's 30-day money back on the website. I'm just looking. £99 for the basic search, 15 applicants a day, 3 applications a day, 1 resume profile. Okay, throwing it out there because I'm gonna rebuttal as you talk about these, right?
That's right.
TA perspective, we get hundreds of applicants every single day, right? So is that not just creating more noise?
Yeah, it is. It is. Definitely it is. That's what, we should be that's why, again, this is the easiest way, but not the effective. But
Okay.
what I'm more thinking is, I'll also show you what I did, again, which is not completely implemented. I still have some bugs, as I mentioned before. But
Hmm.
I'll show you, what is the kind of approach that I'm processing here. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, of course. By the way, while we're doing that, if anyone does want to use Lazy Apply, we're not affiliated to them at all. I have
Exactly.
no,
I'm not too.
yeah.
I just
I was gonna
draw an
say I'm not.
example.
I'm not gonna start saying it's the best tool. It is a
I
tool.
know.
I will put it in the footnotes of it. So if anyone does want to check it out. But yeah, I mean, obviously the big element there is that it's just adding more noise to noise.
Yeah.
So just to kind of make sure that we're not getting sponsored by them whatsoever.
Screen.
Yep.
So first thing is I used N8N, and we have N8. We have a lot of templates or workflow automation templates. You call it, which are pre-built in N8N. All you need to
Hmm.
do is get into N8N, search for templates, and type job search. It gives you various inbuilt templates, which is like auto matching resume with AI plus cover letter and Telegram alert. And I kind of designed something like this, but I can add more tweaks. This is little better than the already ready-made tools in the market.
Free. And NAN as a platform isn't free, right?
Right. I mean, it isn't free. When you start using AI, nothing is free. There are
I
some
mean, that's why
freewares,
there's
but
money in
again,
it, right?
first, yeah, but it's not. It depends upon to what you're using for. Because LinkedIn Premium is also not free, but it has its own advantages.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you want to use these things for, like, 1 month or 2 months, I think it would not be a bomb in my opinion. But again, to how many API calls you're making and how the pricing structure varies from API to API, so it's going to be complicated to give you an estimate or how much of what would be the range of pricing as well.
Okay.
But
So
that's why you
just to
need to
check,
keep, yeah.
again, so throwing it out there, questions that are popping in. So if I'm using an 8N, and you might have already had this coming up, but let's just triple check. The pricing is done on API calls, not done on a fixed monthly cost. Is that right?
No. N8N is a platform. N8N has a fixed pricing. You have
Okay.
business
Okay.
premium, something like that. It's going to be, it's a flat
Okay.
20
Perfect. Yeah.
or 50. This is how it works. But what happens is you see this task, right? Each and everything is a is a task.
Hmm.
And for some of them, we use a premium. Let me dive into the example that I created. So this is
Of
this is
course.
the one I created. Okay. So let me explain the flow first. I'll try to be quick. I don't dive more technical, but I just wanted to showcase you what this is about, how we did, and where will be the pricing involved and all of that. So first thing is, I wanted to search for LinkedIn job postings for every 24 hours. This is the schedule
Mhm.
trigger. And LinkedIn don't have any public API. So, I was using fetch jobs. Again, we cannot use this at a commercial rate, and LinkedIn do not recommend as well. But for the sample purpose, Arjuna is something that I have used. And what Arjuna does is, like, it's a web scraper. It gives me the list of job applications related to talent acquisition. I can basically set what I wanted, something like talent acquisition manager or director, whatever it is. You can go with the boolean as well here,
Mhm.
and you can say how many you
So
want to.
you put that
Yeah,
inside that action yourself.
exactly.
Okay.
This is the second step. Once you get here, it's going to be a split job. First thing is, from the input that is in JSON, we want to extract the job description, company name, the fields that are more relevant
Mhm.
to us. So the reason why I'm specifying this is here it asks for code. What we are trying to do is converting the JSON to, extracting the job description and all of that. So what we can do is we can also do an NLP here. You don't need to have a coding experience in here. All you can do is you can type stating that, hey, map the fields and extract job description and company name. And
You took the
when
words
you
right out of
execute
my
this,
mouth, by the way.
sorry?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I feel like you can see my eyes light up thinking, oh God, the code. Again, this is saying the fear part of thinking, okay, this looks so complicated. And, you're met with code, but you can literally just simply create the action and write as if you're prompting into the AI and
Right,
say, this is what I want, and it's going to do that for you.
right. So now the step is executed, the node is successful, which means it went back here and then write the code it by itself. And then
Oh, wow.
you execute the step. So, and then, this is one source of job description. The other way around, I uploaded my resume and then extracted from JSON to binary, or, all of that. So at merge here, I have a job description, I have a resume.
Right.
So what happens is this particular document, which is binary, which is text format, will uploads into ChatGPT. And
Okay.
then it goes into the chat model and then say, hey, rewrite my, the query that I have given here, even an LLM, is compare my resume, job description, rewrite my resume as per the job description, blah, 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 and execute the step.
Okay.
So now to the job description, my resume is made. And then this will be sent to Slack. You can use Gmail, or you can do Slack, or you choose Telegram, anything. So by the time you wake up in the morning at around, you come in front of your system at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I have 5 to 10 jobs where my resume is crafted, but the content of the resume is not something that, ChatGPT generated. Is from the document that I have inputted using the Google Drive. So I have 10
Okay.
jobs, which the jobs that I'm looking at, 10 different types of resumes, because each and every job description is different. Someone says sourcing is important, someone says recruitment is important, someone says coordination, someone says strategy, someone says change management, someone says global experience, someone says what? Startup experience. When I have all of this, you cannot write a 7 page or 10 page resume and then send it to everyone. So that's the reason why this approach would customize the experiences that I have got and pick up as per the job description what they're looking at. And then I have it ready in front of the system. I don't need to go through 50 emails, or like probably 100 jobs in getting these 10 and then investing time in drafting the resume and cover letter. Here you can do anything. You can also, instead of just a resume, you can also say, write a cover letter. I
That's
didn't
so fucking cool.
include the application
Sorry, pardon
point
my
in here.
French. That's so cool.
So thanks for that. I didn't include the application point in here. So, but the only way is, like, a lot of application says, I don't know how the other guys are doing. I'm still yet to find it out. But it says, you're not a chatbot or something like that. I don't know how to bypass that. But again, I'm a pretty noob in that area.
So essentially what we can do, and this is it's as basic as it can be, I guess, but still having control. So you're not saying, I want you to send that CV to that job. In this
No.
example, you could do it in theory, but in this example, you're not. You're saying every day, I want you to find jobs that match these requirements. Then I want you to get that information, find the job description, put that into a list, as it were. Here's my CV, connect my CV to that job description, rewrite my job description or my CV based on the job description in ChatGPT, and then send that to me on Slack. So you're going to get a list on Slack that says Peritus Partners is hiring head of talent acquisition. Here's your CV that matches to that, and here's the job description. And then you can go in and look at the CV and say, okay, do I need to change it anymore, or is it okay? Or do I trust it and just want to send it? Then you can go and make that application yourself. That's right. So you've still got that human side in this process, which is, I guess, slightly different to lazy apply, where you're just going, here's the parameters, here's my CV, off you go. Whereas you've built an agent where it does all the work and you've done that final human check to say it's good to go.
Yes, you're right.
Where's the limitations in it? So, you know, I could create an agent essentially that, has head of TA, director of TA, lead TA, but that's what happens if someone just calls it director of talent? Does it pick up on the alternatives?
You can prioritize that. See, again, that's what I'm talking about. With agents, one tool will never fit everyone. Like
Mm,
one job board, like LinkedIn jobs, everyone can go and search for jobs, but agents are not like that. I can define what I'm really looking at. Here, I can say, or here I would say, prioritize, bring in my priorities for talent acquisition director, but there are not many in the market. I can actually type all this content. So to pay my bills, I'm okay to be an individual contributor as a recruiter or a recruitment lead or something like that. But whenever a
mm,
director opportunity comes up, let me know. I'm very interested to be considered for those. Then it prioritizes the director positions.
right. And you can have this
And
agent running in the background. So even if you're happy with your job, it's always
yeah,
checking every day for you. And then you
that's
can
the
put it into
point.
Slack and go, yeah,
That's an interesting point. What happens is this Aduza is not a freeware. It only limits to certain elements. So API, you need to pay for the API in this.
okay,
And OneDrive is free. And much even the ChatGPT, the OpenAI chat model that I have used here, it has 100 free credits with an A10. But
right.
you need to keep paying for these APIs or use some freewares like DeepSeek or something like that, which is not, again, I'd say, which is good. But again, there are personal preferences. And then
Mm,
Slack is free. So it depends upon what API calls you need to make to bring in the data.
right.
And
So just to check, when you say 100 credits on OpenAPI, is that 100 amendments? So that in theory could be 100 CVs rewritten, or is it the more intensive the request is, the more credits it will cost?
it's yeah. Again, the pricing models are really crazy. If you have gone through the GTM roles, you'd understand. Someone says each and every call is a credit. Someone says the search history that you have gone through, it depends upon the criticality of the search. They're going to say 3 credit, 2 credit, and no, it's very tough to say how many credits and how it works.
Fair enough.
So the pricing structure for API is going to be the key in here. And if you want to get positions from LinkedIn, Stepstone, so we need to check if Stepstone has an API that allows other applications to consume the API for free. Then it would not cost you
Mm.
much. So overall, it's going to be a little pricey, but it entirely depends upon how many searches and how specific you want to keep looking out for.
And I guess as a business, you know,
Yep.
if you're investing not into this example, because of course this is for us as a job seeker, but if you're investing in as a business, you're going to hopefully have an internal team that can build APIs out for you for your whatever you're doing. Again, I know you're not going to buy, they can't build an API that's going to connect to an external database. By all means, you've got to use that
Mhm.
companies, but it could be elements in here that we could try to develop in-house to help your business, especially if you're fetching your own data.
Yeah, if it is for your internal applications, like I tell you the same thing, like select trigger for every 1 month, get the data from ATS systems, HR onboarding, payroll, all these systems are connected for free in
Hmm.
here. and then merge all the data and then connect to LLMs, whatever LLMs they have within the company, and then generate a report. And if they automate
Yeah.
this, and then after the generating a report, send it to someone instead of Slack. So
See, that's a
you
super
can
basic example of saying how we can do it for our own company without. I mean, we just have
exactly,
to have an N8N license then instead of all the API calls. The APIs, I think, just looking at how companies are hiring, that's where a lot of businesses are trying to make more money from. I mean, having API connectivity has always been a way to make money for a business, but I feel like especially with things like this and the large data sets, like for example, uh, not TechCrunch, Crunchbase of their API call is wildly expensive,
yeah,
thousands. Makes sense because of course you
yeah.
could create an agent and just rip the entire database off in a month if you wanted to. Um, but I can see why it's expensive. Um, what's I guess from your own experience, Harry, what's been your biggest blocker building this out? Um, what's been the biggest, I say the biggest blocker and the biggest challenge that you maybe didn't foresee when you first started?
Oh, I mean, I still have this blocker. So you're talking about from a technical standpoint, yes, because for example, let's take this error. It says the value in JSON combined text is not set to item zero. I have absolutely no clue what to do. I spent like 2 hours in addressing this issue. But certain debugging aspects are pretty tough to handle. So we might need some technical people around. My wife comes from technology, so she would definitely knows. Come in and then flex her muscle and then say, "Hey, you don't know this. Let me try to solve this for you," kind of stuff. But yeah, I think debugging is always difficult rather than building it. Building is pretty easy, I'd say. Uh, let me show you this. I wanted to show you this, these credentials. Platforms like N8, and what they do is they let you connect with all the APIs uh, from the from a different dashboard. So you can basically connect all the credentials here, like Google Drive, DeepSeek, Slack, any of these. And then all you need to do is open the template and then keep calling. It's like here you want to connect. You know, I know for me to tell everything is easy, but someone who's doing it for the first time, they're going to get confused. But what I would say
Yeah.
is getting motivated to spend time on any of this platform, even for free, is difficult. But once you start doing it, understanding what's happening, what are the API calls, and how you're doing it, and how easy it is, kind of stuff, and that gets you going.
Yeah, I love that. And look, I don't think the world's going to be solved with creating an agent for everything. Don't get me wrong. Our role is still people led, and there's areas where you can't create an API to have a call with me. I mean, to schedule it you can, but I'm going to take the call with you, right? I don't believe in personally. I'm not a big fan of AI led interviewing, personally. But I love this because I feel like you put this into the hands of somebody who's an ISE today, in the trenches, so to speak, doing the job day in day out. They know parts of their job that they can automate, and if then as the leaders have a more higher level overview to understand the parameters of what we can automate as a business, the budgets we can set to create these types of things, the API calls and whatnot. And there's this mutual understanding. Say, look, this is where you can kind of get to the limits of that we're happy with the company, but the rest of it go free reign. I think you're going to see some absolutely incredible use cases around how we can create agents for companies. And then from job seekers, you just switch it. You just put the same focus. What does my job search look like? And this, for example, is research and putting your CVs together. You could just do it just for research if you just wanted to. You could do it just for job searching, so just for updating the CV. You could do the whole process. I think the more people try it and play with it, the more this is going to become, as you say, like a natural part. It's a natural evolution of what we're working towards. Um, okay, so we've got N8N. Is there any others that you've maybe trialed or seen or heard that you would maybe say to people, maybe give a go? Because N8N, I think, is the most well-known, most obvious one, especially in Berlin ecosystem. They're from the Berlin hub, as it were. So, is there anything else specifically you think someone should try or at least have a look at?
No, I have not put my hands on to any other models yet, and because not all the agent models would have a free trial. So that's
Mm.
why I was able to use N8, and I have only 7 days left on this. But
Okay.
HubSpot is better one. It's also, I don't say better. It's also another option. There are a lot of models coming up these days.
Okay. Final question from my side, and then 'cause I feel like it's quite a lot for people to take in at this stage. Um, Obviously you've had the luxury, shall we say, of having time to build this, right? You've been in a
Mm.
position where you can go away and you can build it and you can really get ingrained into it. And there's an error in it, but you've got your head wrapped around it, and you can see just by it's not just this podcast, by the way. I see it for the content you share, the conversations we've had. You're passionate about this, and I can tell it from a mile away. Again, coming back to the people who are in the trenches doing the job, they've got stakeholders breathing down their neck. They've got a dropout that happened last week. They need to find new people for. We're coming up to the end of the year, so post-summer hiring is booming again. Workforce planning's happening. How am I going to find time to experiment, do my normal job, and not go crazy because I actually need to have a life at some point? So what would you say is kind of that sweet spot? Should we try and find time during the day? Should we push it up to leaders to say, hey, can I give some time to experiment during the work week? Should the leaders be pushing it down to the team to say, hey, try and experiment, do this on the weekends? What do you think is kind of I know there's no one size fits all, but the best way to kind of do both our jobs and experiment?
Yeah, it's again depends from individual to individual. If you ask me, I'm a tech savvy. I really like to explore technology, understand technology. But when I was, in my last job, I was way too busy. Most of the people are. Given the current market scenario, everyone would like to keep their job, probably in the context of job security. Everyone will be working hard in more of like, handling the roles and responsibilities within the company, involved in the projects, visibility kind of stuff. And
Mm,
we wouldn't have more time to look around us or outside the company that we're working for and
yeah,
invest time. We do not have that space of mind to learn new things as aggressively as when we are not working.
yeah.
So, my point is always like, one day in a week or in a month, we might need to at least, be away from your work, and then probably start. All they need to do is start looking at videos, uh, uh, if you start looking at Snowflake, and then you'll understand, the data clouds they have, and with the NLP, they're able to query or report, able to create the reports on the data clouds itself, and what are the use cases where Snowflake can be used. Similarly,
Mm.
you go for Microsoft Copilot, and I think once you have the use case understanding, you adapt the use case to your need, and that need will force you to keep exploring the technology concepts. So again, let's say, in this case, I'm talking about a TA, right? Let's assume, you are looking for a house, right? All you have
Mhm.
is a very fixed budget of probably £200. I mean, I don't know what the values and all of that. Let's say, a half a million, 500,000 pounds is what your maximum limitation. You can use the same use case to understand what kind of properties you have, you would get in
Yeah.
500K, and you could create a setup, a filter stating that if I get a 500K apartment in this particular areas, send out an email to the seller stating that I'm interested and ask for a viewing appointment. You can create this particular thing. You don't need to come back and then check the process, check the portals, are there any new buildings today or something like that.
I was about to say,
You
as
can
you're talking
create that.
there, because I am actually looking for a house at the moment. Weird timing that you just said that one. I don't know if I've told you or if you've just read my mind. Um, but as I'm thinking, that we've all gone through these applications where it's like save your preferences,
Right.
alert you when they come through, but you have to go do it on, I mean, job boards. Every job board, or looking for a house, you have to go do it on like 5 or 6 different apps. We can streamline all of that, get the agent to do it, and then just put it into one place, and then I've got one place for it. Maybe there's going to be an application at some point that someone builds that just streamlines everything that you could ever think of for your work, for your personal life into one unified place, connects with all LLMs, all agents, you base it on credits, whatever, and you just, I mean, if someone is building this or knows someone, let me know. The way I envision it, you can basically just type in what you want. I want to build this. I know Lovable exists, don't get me wrong, but I want it in one place, and I want the app to do it for me, and I want it all to connect into me.
Right.
You're gonna bring something up now.
Yeah, you can basically do that. I wanted to show you some another example. I don't know where it is. It might take some time. It's basically that what it is. The moment you understand how this is working, you can relate this technology to your personal. You can adapt this technology to your personal life. So
Mm,
it doesn't mean that you don't need to think. You need to think. You need to understand where and what's happening and how you're getting the data and what is the validity of the value of the data, and then start doing it. You can do, the similar model. You can collect all your emails and bills and everything, and then probably work on your tax laws and everything. If there are any changes to the tax laws that reflects in your tax statement, or buying a car, anything and everything. All you need to is APIs to your sources, and what is the logic, or that's where you'll be using the prompting. What is the
mm.
prompt that you want to have, and what is the result you want to respond back to the emails in housing thing. You don't need any personalization in there. All you need to do is, whenever you see a posting, send an email to the seller or a renter. you know hey, I'm looking for this, tell me, when we can connect, or when we can give, and you can automate everything. And you can start once you start getting the response from whoever the other third party is. So it's
Love
basically,
it.
this is not replacing anything. This is helping you to become more smarter and more, it gives you more time to focus on other things.
And I think if you free up a lot more time there, we come back to, spending some, one day a month having a look into all sort of stuff. The more you create, the more space you free up. The more space you free up, the more thinking capacity you can do to free up more space. And you're still going to have time to do your stakeholder relations, your sourcing, and your interviews, which are the three core pillars of what we do. All the reporting, all the other bits and pieces can be created for you. Harry, like I said, I know this is a particular area of passion for you. And I really do appreciate you, one, building this out for us to have a look and to show people that it's not as scary as we think it is. It is relatively straightforward. Obviously, just go try it. If someone wants to pick the conversation up with you further, if they want to learn a little bit more about you, where is the best place that they can find you?
LinkedIn. It's easy.
Okay,
I'm,
cool.
I'm, I'm kind of active in LinkedIn, but sometimes I might be a little late in responding back to them. But yeah, I try to respond to people. Yeah, LinkedIn is a better place.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you spending the time with us and thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice talking to you, and have a good day.